Darkness spread out all around. Even with my eyes open, even with my eyes closed, there was nothing around me but darkness. What on earth had happened? I could see a light far in the distance. Walk towards the light. Let's head towards the light. I started walking through the darkness towards it. Gradually, the tiny point of light grew larger and larger. Before I knew it, I was wrapped in a yellowish green light. A lush green field of grass spread out beneath my feet. Where on earth was I? I felt light, and the soft grass beneath my feet felt nice. I took a deep breath, and the smell of the damp grass cleared my head. It sure was nice to take a moment like this every now and then. Just as I had the thought, "Hey, so you like plants, huh?" A voice suddenly called out to me. Surprised, I turned around, and a young man stood a short distance away. I'd never seen him before. Just who was he? Plants are great, aren't they? If you treat them with love, they'll return it in kind. They won't betray you like people do, he said, and then smiled. His smile was dazzling. How about it? Our meeting in a place like this must surely be fate as well. Would you like to drink some tea with me? Huh? Was this some new kind of pickup line? And where did he intend to drink tea in this grassy field? I looked all around, but I could see nothing but wide, grassy fields. There was nothing else. Tea? I returned to the young man after taking a look around. Huh? Before I realized it, a small table had appeared between the two of us. 2 white teacups sat on top of it. I couldn't see what was inside them very well, but it looked to be the color of coffee. Where on earth had he pulled all of that out from? Well, go ahead. He urged me on, smiling. What should I do? Don't drink it. Thank you, I said, but I didn't take the cup. I mean, it didn't look very tasty. This tea is made from a very special plant. It's very good for your health. I drink it every day without fail. Having said that, he then downed the entire cup in one go. Then, "Do you know what this tea's called?" he said with a smile. "It's called..." At that very moment, a breeze blew in, and a green mist covered my vision. Sobu, la. I couldn't hear his voice clearly in the wind. Not only that, but the man, the table, the teacups, all of it faded into the green mist and disappeared. What is... I desperately searched the area. Then an unknown woman suddenly appeared in front of me. Her smile didn't look especially friendly. "Stay out of my way," she said and sent me flying. Everything went dark. I fell at incredible speed through the darkness. I was falling. My heart felt like it was being grabbed by bare hands, and all the hairs on my body stood on end. I was surrounded by darkness, but I could tell that I was quickly approaching the ground. If I kept falling like this, then I'm gonna hit the ground. The moment I screamed, my body hit the ground. A sharp pain spread throughout my body from my feet. I was so shocked at the pain that I jumped up. Kurata-san! Kurata-san! I could vaguely see Hosoda-san's face. I was in the newspaper club room? What was I doing again? My head pounded. I think there had just been a blackout. And then I think something hit me in the head. Was that why I passed out? Kurata-san, are you okay? Hosoda-san said as he looked down at me. Ugh. I understood that he was worried, but I didn't want to see him so up close. I'm fine. Sorry for worrying you. I turned my face and pretended to look around the room. I couldn't see anybody else. The only ones there were myself and Hosoda-san. Where did everyone else go? I sent them home. I mean, there wasn't much space with us all here, so the seventh person couldn't come in. Hosoda-san answered with a big smile. Seventh person? Did that mean the seventh person was coming? But if the room was too small for the seventh person to enter with everyone else inside, then did that mean they were even bigger than Hosoda-san? Hosoda-san? I asked, worried. Do you know who the seventh person is? What are you saying? Come on, Kurata-san. The seventh person is... Suddenly, the door opened. Hey, sorry I'm so late. I turned to look in the direction of the voice. A lone young man stood in the doorway. Was he the seventh person? He looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't for the life of me remember where I might have seen him. Takeuchi-san! Hosoda-san stood up, looking extremely happy. Takeuchi-san, huh? I remembered him. Takeuchi-san was the boy in Hosoda-san's story who never went to the toilet. Something about drinking a strange tea and then never needing to go to the toilet again. But if I remembered correctly, he changed schools. Wait. Tea? Oh yeah! He was the same guy I met in my dream before when I was passed out. He looked exactly like him. But more importantly, he had been in my dream. Sorry I'm late. Dealing with the transfer took up quite some time. Huh? Transfer? The math didn't add up. Wasn't he supposed to be 2 years older than Hosoda-san? Which meant he should have graduated last March. Is it really that strange that I could be a third grader? What you want to say is that I should have graduated by now, right? But you see, I went overseas and missed school for a year. That's why I'm redoing the 3rd grade again this year. So that means until next spring, we'll be going to school together. Hosoda-san looked oddly happy. I see. If this person was Takeuchi-san, then Hosoda-san will be able to get the tea that he was after from him. Well then, let me introduce myself once more. My name is Takeuchi Shin. Starting today, I'm in class 3G. Nice to meet you. Well then, shall I tell you a scary story I know? And with that, the final story for the 7 school mysteries began. This school was built long ago, and perhaps because of that, there are many magnificent trees in the area. They've been cut down and moved over the years, but there's a large ginkgo tree by the new school building, right? When it comes to the tastes of autumn, you can't look past the ginkgo tree, right? It smells a little, but you can't have autumn without it. Kurata-san, have you ever eaten from that ginkgo tree? No. I see, so you haven't. That's good. Because you see, Kurata-san, that tree has another name. It's also known as the tree of those who commit suicide. Why? That's simple. Because lots of students commit suicide beneath that tree. They hang themselves, overdose on medicine. They die in all sorts of ways. All of the bodies they find beneath that tree are of those who have killed themselves. Not only that, but they're all women. Strange, right? That's the strange story that I know. Is that it? For the final story of the 7 school mysteries, it was a little lacking in impact. It would be nice if I had a little something better than that. Kurata-san? Hey, wait. Don't rush to such a conclusion. I heard this story when I was in the 1st grade. At the time, I had no idea why so many girls were committing suicide. I only just recently found out why. And it's not like I was constantly looking for the answer. I came upon it by coincidence. Hosoda-kun, you knew about the Sambura tea, right? Yes. Well, you see, the reason I went overseas was because I wanted to know more about it. I was wondering if I might be able to grow it here in Japan. The Sambura tea we drink at home, my father always buys it from India. I thought going there to find out more about it would be easy, but it was a lot tougher than I thought. I couldn't find it anywhere. When I asked the locals about it, they said it came from a Sambura tree, but in recent years their numbers had drastically declined, and they were almost extinct. I panicked. I'd travelled all the way from Japan, and I couldn't find it. There was no way. I desperately searched for it. I wandered the native forests for more than half a year, looking for a wild Sambura tree. Then, finally, I found one. Seeing it was like a dream. A massive tree was growing right in the middle of a tropical native forest. It truly was a magnificent tree. At first, I didn't realize it was just a single tree. Its dirt-coloured roots and vines spread out in all directions, and it looked just like a jungle. But the vines that went everywhere were dried up husks, and each time the wind blew, the ends crumbled and fell. The roots crawling along the ground were rotten, and when I stood on one, yellow goop oozed out of it, and it stank. The tree was already dying. Even trees have a lifespan. I checked it all over. As a result, I came to understand why the Sambura tree was going extinct. It was also the key to understanding the incidents that occurred when the ginkgo tree was moved to the side of the new school building. You see, Kurata-san, I told you before that I'd eaten from that same ginkgo tree, right? You said you hadn't. Of course you hadn't. I mean, that tree doesn't bear fruit. It only bears male flowers. You knew that, right? There are those that have male flowers and those that have female flowers. In other words, just like we as people have men and women. Before the new school building was constructed, that area was full of ginkgo trees. But once they started building it, they cut them all down, and only that one tree was left. Plants have feelings too, you know. I think perhaps that tree was lonely. It was all alone, and because it was lonely, it summoned people to it. Come over here. Give up your humanity and join me. Those whispers floated on the wind and into human ears. And the reason that it only called females was because it was a male tree. And that's the reason why only women committed suicide beneath that ginkgo tree. The Sambura tree, just like the ginkgo and the sago palm, has both male and female trees. Because there are far more male trees than female, they're in danger of going extinct. If that happened, then I'd never be able to drink Sambura tea again. I decided that I would do whatever I could to protect that tree, and did my best to study its ecology. Then, finally, I was successful in breeding it. Having said that, the corners of Takeuchi-san's mouth twisted, and he smiled. And the tea that resulted from that is right here. As he said that, I looked down at the table and saw a white teacup had been placed there at some point. It was filled with a black liquid that, at a glance, looked like coffee. It seemed that the raw green smell in the room was coming from it. Sambura tea! Hosoda-san gulped. He looked like he really wanted to drink it. Takeuchi-san? Hosoda-san looked at him with pleading eyes. But... Sorry, Hosoda-kun. You spat it up last time, didn't you? I can't let someone who did that drink this precious Sambura tea again. Besides, I prepared this especially for Kurata-san. Huh? Having been so flatly refused, Hosoda-san looked dejected. Kurata-san? Go ahead, try it. He offered the tea to me, smiling. It was exactly the same as my dream. not drink it. I didn't drink the tea. I mean, if it was the same as Hosoda-san's story, if I drank this tea, I'd become some human-plant hybrid, right? And even if I didn't, it didn't really look that good to begin with. There was no way I was putting that to my lips. What's wrong, Kurata-san? There's no need to hold back. I made this just for you, after all. His face slowly got closer and closer. Kurata-san, if you just drink this one cup, your entire life will change for the better. Listen, you're the first girl I've ever offered this tea to. That's how much I like you. Small green things crawled around beneath his skin, on his forehead, on his cheeks, on the tip of his nose, and in his eyeballs. Well, Kurata-san. Every time he opened his mouth, a grassy smell washed over me. It was the same as that strong smell of grass in my dream. I was beginning to zone out. Then... Hey, hang on a minute. The door flung open and a girl appeared. Her arms were crossed and she looked somewhat arrogant. I felt like I'd seen her somewhere before. Who on earth was she? Her eyes looked determined and her mouth strong-willed. I'd definitely seen her somewhere before. But where? Damn it, I couldn't remember. She walked right up to me and then looked me over from head to toe. Then, "You're Kurata Emi from 1E, aren't you?" she said and snorted. Huh, how rude. She looked older than me, but she had no manners whatsoever. Yes, I'm Kurata, and who are you? I answered bluntly. My bad. I'm Takasaka Sakurako from 3G. Nice to meet you. Having said that, she presented her right hand. She wanted a handshake, right? I also put out my right hand. Then we tightly gripped each other's hands. Ugh, how strong was she? She didn't budge an inch, as though it was nothing to her, and tightly squeezed my hand. She pasted on a smile, but her eyes weren't smiling. She slowly released my hand and then muttered, "I told you you were in the way, didn't I?" Huh? I was in the way? Why? I felt like someone had said something to me like that before. Seriously, Kurata-san. To refuse the Sambura tea that even I, Sakurako, the head of the Takeuchi Show Protection Squad, haven't yet tried. Seriously, how ignorant you are. She didn't have to go that far. If I didn't want to drink it, then I didn't want to drink it. Not being unable to judge the mental state of fans was scary and not something I wanted anything to do with. Hosoda-san did say something about Takeuchi-san being popular with the girls. I didn't think it extended as far as to bodyguards. Just what type of people were his bodyguards? Takeuchi-sama, oh, why did you offer this girl the Sambura tea? If it was what you wanted, then I would gladly offer up my body for you. Takasaka-san looked at him with glistening eyes. Did she really like him that much? Is that so? Well then, you, Sakurako, right? You'll do as well. Finish this tea for me. That creepy smile was still pasted on his face. Why? I had a bad feeling, like some evil was at work in the shadows. But Takasaka-san hadn't noticed at all. Of course! Ah, Takeuchi-sama, I'm so happy. She smiled and chanted, and then picked up the teacup. Then she drank it in a single gulp. To drink something that looked so gross in one mouthful. The power of love sure isn't something to mess with. Aww. Hosoda-san muttered, disappointed. The tea he'd been searching for all that time suddenly disappeared right in front of him. Clink! She put the cup down with a soft sound. Not a single drop of the black liquid was left. Looking pleased with herself, Takasaka-san smiled and looked at Takeuchi-san. Then, Takeuchi-san. She called his name tenderly. Then, with a slithering sound, green vines sprouted from Takasaka-san's mouth. Gah! I screamed, and as though surprised by the sound, the vines retreated back into her mouth. For a moment, a cold silence fell over the room. But... Ha ha ha! Takeuchi-san's laugh soon broke it. Ha ha ha! I'm glad. You might have gotten away, but I got someone else instead. Now I'm not alone. I won't be lonely anymore. Ha 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 ha! The wind blew as he laughed. A green mist blew in with it. Takeuchi-san seemed to disappear into it. It was exactly the same as my dream. Takeuchi-san? As he disappeared, a strong gust suddenly blew in. That gust cleared out the green mist clouding our view. It all happened in an instant. After the green storm had passed, Takeuchi-san and Takasaka-san were gone. Only Hosoda-san and I were left, stunned and frozen. We said nothing, just stood there on the spot. I wonder how much time passed. I was the first person to open my mouth. Shall we go home now? Yeah. He gulped and nodded as he answered. The article research had ended. Several days passed. I heard rumors that there was no transfer student in class 3G by the name of Takeuchi. The Takeuchi Shin, who had previously gone to our school, left overseas to find a phantom plant, and nobody had heard from him since. That time, just who on earth was it that appeared before Hosoda-san and I? They disappeared in a green mist. Where did they go? Today, I finished the manuscript for the 7 school mysteries. The 7th story was the story about the strange tree. Around the same time, one of the girls from class 3G went missing. An unknown young tree sprouted near the ginkgo tree by the new school building. It was around the same height as me, and it twisted and curved, not unlike that of a female body. A young tree that suddenly sprang up overnight. It changed shape to look like that of a human woman. If you snapped one of its branches off, it would no doubt bleed bright red. If you think it's just a rumor, then I recommend that you try it for yourself. Although I can't guarantee your life if you do. Go on, gently reach out for it. Grab those thin branches and exert just a little power. See?